Motivation direction. What constructs of comprehension and the mental feedback system cause motivation? Are feedback triggers the core cause of any and all motivations? Motivation can be considered to be basically a drive to attempt to perform an action. By feedback triggers, I mean instinctual, genetic, neurochemical, positive or negative reinforcement for a specimen to pursue or avoid circumstance. In my last video called Differences from Emotion to Reinforcement Triggers, I explained more of this and how the state of mind, which we call emotion, resulting from feedback triggers, seems to be limited in its adaptability based on comprehension of potential links from the factors at hand to alternate reinforcement triggers. If any emotional perception is limited to positive or negative feedback triggers which are linked to the situation, does that mean motivation is as well? Any actions taken by an individual seem as though they should logically be driven by instinctual feedback triggers. Otherwise, there'd be no incentive to perform the action. If the root cause of motivation is feedback triggers, just as any emotion seems to be, then the only adaptability for someone to change that motivation intentionally seems to be dependent on alternate feedback triggers which can be comprehended as being affected by the circumstances involved in the original motivation. For example, if Gary has the instinctual motivational positive reinforcement trigger to gain as much money as possible, which is a subconscious adaptation of an instinctive trigger, in order for him to intentionally alter that motivation, he requires an alternate positive feedback trigger to focus on. Through comprehension of the factors involved in making money, he can determine that it may not be as rationally important to him as perhaps the positive feedback trigger to pursue experiences or helping others or family. These instinctive feedback triggers do adapt naturally through a lifetime, as subconscious influence on the individual causes them to avoid or pursue new factors which have been saved in memory from new experiences. This causes motivation to change naturally through experience, but it is still the same root instinctive feedback trigger causing new factors to be saved in memory subconsciously for the variance of factors to be pursued. But this is natural subconscious adaptability rather than intentional redirection of motivation. Intentional redirection requires conscious comprehension, and conscious comprehension requires knowledge of cause and effect of relevant factors. Therefore, to intentionally redirect motivation, there must be that knowledgeable cause and effect of the involved factors in order to make a connection to an alternate motivation. But since motivation or drive to pursue an achievement seems to require a positive feedback trigger, intentional redirection of motivation seems to be limited to available connections from present factors to alternate positive feedback triggers. Basically, within a situation, someone cannot simply choose to redirect their motivation to anything they want. They must rely on a perspective resulting from comprehension of factors involved, being connected to some positive feedback trigger. For example, I cannot change my motivation to cause myself to clean my room or move out of the city or get a job if I don't comprehend the reasons why I should do so, because of the positive feedback triggers linked with those factors. Overall, as positive feedback triggers seem to be the root cause of all motivation, the direction of motivation is limited to available triggers. Motivation can adapt naturally as a result of experiences subconsciously altering the positive feedback of factors, But through conscious comprehension of positives, there can also be effective manual motivation direction.